Right now, let's turn our attention to what is going on in the state's Democratic National Convention taking place in Chicago. This is where we are seeing the anointing of Kamala Harris formally as the Democratic nominee for the US presidential election on the 5th of November. Last night, actually, while Kamala Harris and her nominated deputy, Tim Walz, were actually in Wisconsin, where they were actually giving a big rally there, it was the turn of Barack and Michelle Obama to give their rousing speeches to the Democratic faithful, saying that hope is making a comeback after endorsing Kamala Harris to be the next president. Let's talk about this with Matthew Bryza. He's a former White House and senior State Department official in the Obama administration. Good afternoon to you, Matthew.
Hello, Julia. Thanks for letting me be with you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let's just have a quick listen, if we can, to what Barack Obama had to say in his speech, talking actually about Donald Trump. Here's what he had to say.
We do not need 4 more years of bluster and bumbling and chaos. We have seen that movie before, and we all know that the sequel is usually worse. America's ready for a new chapter. America's ready for a better story. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
Well, that's what Barack Obama, a former president, a double the presidency, had to say. It's very interesting. I thought Matthew Bryza, my colleague who's joining me this morning, Benedict Spence, pointed out seemed to get a bit southern in his speech. I'm pretty sure he was born in Hawaii and lived a lot of his adult life in Chicago. Suddenly he's speaking like he's from Nashville, Tennessee at a Democratic National Convention. What's going on there?
He does do that a lot when he gets excited. I've noticed that throughout his career. I'm a native Chicagoan, by the way, and you can hear I don't sound like I'm from Alabama. So he gets all fired up in that in the rhetoric and the moment, and I think he's kind of adopting the style of a preacher, of a Southern. Yeah. Preacher, which is very, important part of life.
Look, he's an incredibly, influential figure in American democratic politics. It was very important that he and Michelle Obama, gave their approval to Kamala Harris, the VP for Biden, when Biden stood down, that it would go to her as the nominee. There wasn't going to be big infighting. It was kind of all agreed before the strong-arming took place for Biden to stand down. But what did you make of what Michelle Obama had to say? Because she made they're talking about hope and change and being very positive, but she made a really blatant, open, accusation against Donald Trump about racism. Let's have a little watch and listen of what she had to say in part of her speech.
We know folks are going to do everything they can to distort her truth. My husband and I sadly know a little something about this. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of 2 hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black. Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
Matthew Bryza, what did you make of that?
Well, it's rooted in part in the Donald Trump effort way back when to call into question whether or not Barack Obama was born in the United States. There's this whole birther controversy. And that whole initiative and the rhetoric at the time was tinged with racism. But at the same time, clearly Michelle Obama here is really playing up playing the race card, and again, the way she said at the end, the last few phrases, that was not the way she normally speaks. No. In her highly educated, careful Chicago style. So, racism has become a part of the campaign, though, right? Also, with President Trump questioning whether Kamala Harris was black and when did she decide to be black. But generally, I think American politics work a lot better when we're not focused on race and culture.
It would be nice if we went into the culture wars. Again, I would point out, it's the Democrats who kind of started a lot of the culture wars on that front. But in terms of where Kamala Harris is in the polls, she appears to be ahead in a lot of the key, battleground states. But there's a margin of error there, and all the focus has been on her. We've got so much of the American media backing her. We've got Time magazine putting on the cover without so much as even an interview with her. Is this the honeymoon period? And that's all very well, but at some point she's going to have to answer some questions in some interviews and appear in a debate against Donald Trump, and that's when we get to see the real Kamala without the autocue.
Absolutely. And I think this is a conscious strategy, however, because her poll numbers are going up, as you said, without her doing an interview. So you might as well surf that wave, as long as it takes to get to the beach. But soon she will have to do interviews, and not inevitably, but likely, she'll have difficulty with some questions. And so she's, likely to lose some support. And then this sort of buzz and glow will go away when she starts giving hard-hitting answers. But on the other hand, for goodness sake, she's a former prosecuting attorney. She knows how to speak. She knows how to argue.
Well, you'd think that, and you'd think, therefore, this is a woman who'd want to be doing interviews. Let us get to know her. I haven't heard any policy. I know her views on abortion. I've got that. I don't really know anything about any other policy. And actually, whenever we have heard her speak, when she hasn't got an autocue in front of her, she's barely coherent.
Well, I think so. Yeah, it's a strategy just to try to be warm and joyful and hopeful. And then she knows that she's going to debate Trump. And I mean, she's going to treat him, she says, I know how to speak to felons.
Yeah.
And so she's going to.
I've dealt with these kind of people. Yeah.
Yeah, and when she was a senator, I mean, when she would interrogate people who were coming up at hearings, she was really tough. So I wonder if she won't be so tough that all of this glow and warmth will be forgotten because she will seem so harsh. So,
that's a particular issue with female politicians, isn't it? That they'll be, criticised for that. But then I've got to be honest, I'd like to see a bit more of that than the insane laughing and smiling that she appears to do it all. I can't believe her minders haven't trained her out of that so far. I find it absolutely bizarre. Do you think she's going to win?
I do, because I think she's so gotten under Donald Trump's skin. He's so rapid that he's unable to. Look, he hasn't even gone out really and done many events at all since, in the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, I think he doesn't know how to handle her, and he's not listening to his strategic advisors. If he did, he'd win. But he's not. He's sticking with the personal attacks.
When it comes to policies, he's actually got the majority of American people on his side, and people want to, stick it to the man sort of thing. But, yeah, it's going to be absolutely fascinating. I think it's going to be too close to call, like it was last time. Do you think we're still going to be talking about who won the election from November the 5th in January next year?
I do. I think if Trump does not win, he's already said there's just no way he's going to accept the results. So yeah, I think we're on a roller coaster here, and it's going to take a while for the hills to stop.
It's going to be fascinating, isn't it? Matthew Bryza, so appreciate you joining us. You worked in the Obama administrations, in the White House and in the State Department. Benedict Spence, again, I know you follow American politics closely. I still think if I had to put money on it, I'd put the money on Trump. But the Kamala honeymoon I find extraordinary because she is so unappealing to me.
It helps that the entire media establishment of the United States is fully behind her on this. Apart from Fox News.
But they don't like Trump anymore.
I was going to say, would you want Fox News on your side? It's a poison chalice. The thing with Trump is, though, and I'm not a medical expert or anything like this, but I do wonder if there's an element of the PTSD.
Donald Trump, but actually being shot at?
He was shot at. He was hit. It's not even like the bullet went over his head. He was shot. And he does seem to be a little all over the place, a little low energy. You pointed out that the attacks are there, the personal attacks, but they're not really landing. At the very least, when he did the personal attacks on Joe Biden, he was landing every single blow.
An older man can attack an older man. And they were valid attacks. They were Sleepy Joe. We looked at him. He was Sleepy Joe.
Who did he beat first time round?
Hillary Clinton was hated.
She was hated, but she was still a woman, and he had no problem saying the most sexist things on the trail.
But I'm saying it doesn't go down very well.
I think the thing is with Kamala Harris, you're right, the whole sort of giggling, laughing thing, she's not very comfortable doing that, and I don't understand, therefore, why she doesn't lean into the hard-nosed prosecutor act and be like, look, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm what America needs, a tough president who isn't going to sugarcoat things.
It's going to be fascinating, isn't it, to see. I'm so looking forward to this. I'm really glad we've got the British election out the way so we can totally focus on American election. And again, massive impact on the world and what's happening in Ukraine, Middle East and everything else.